Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Jerry over at Wealth Dynamics. Hey, if you're just tuning in tonight, I want to thank you for joining us. Every Friday night, I come to you with a free course on money, finances, not just finances, personal finances. All of us deal with money. Finances are personal, so it's something that all of us should know about, right? Now, what I find odd is most of us never learn about it, right? Personal finance, you think about like money and budgeting and income and all this stuff, but usually it's never discussed or talked about, right? And so what I want to do tonight, and this is part two, I want to jump into money topics that are taboo. Okay, money topics that we usually don't address, things that usually we don't talk about, aren't discussed, and generally speaking are kind of left out. And what happens, and what happened for me anyways, is a lot of these topics were never discussed for me as a kid, right? And because of that, I never ended up feeling comfortable with money. It was like a mystery. And as a mystery, it was something that I wasn't able to succeed with. I had bad experiences with. I had maybe experiences that other people pushed on me with their money that I ended up having to deal with myself because I just never got the communication from people about money and how it works and how to use it or any of that stuff. And so that's really the intention of these courses, especially tonight, is to kind of open up communication on the subject of money, to kind of open up the topic, start discussing it. And I want to hit, again, taboo topics, not just normal things. It's things that most people would actually avoid talking about with money. Okay. So if you're just now joining me tonight, a couple of things. Sorry if that sounds weird on the mic, by the way. I just thought the water drinking probably sounds odd on the microphone. If you guys are just joining me, a couple of things. I own a company called Wealth Dynamics. Okay. And what we do is we help people become financially educated and wealthy so that they can navigate their futures with their economic futures with certainty, and then actually help build more prosperous communities around them, sharing the same knowledge and sharing the same information. And, a big thing that we do is we focus on education. And so if you're tuning in tonight, like for the first time ever, that's what these are about. So if you're watching and you're like, man, why does this guy keep talking about money? That's why. That's what I do is I teach people about money. I'm 28. I've been able to build my personal net worth over $1 million. I've built my company to a multi-million-dollar company. And at this age, I want to share with you, like, what did I do to get where I'm at? Not that I'm at the pinnacle, because there's people way beyond where I'm at, and I study people and learn from them as well. But I want to share with you, like, what's helped me, right? Because there was a point where I was 19 years old and homeless. And so if you're somewhere between homeless and where I'm at today, like I have stuff I can share with you that'll help. Now, as we're going through this, I'm going to hit a lot of topics tonight that, again, are kind of taboo. We don't usually address them. So if you're watching this, I don't want you to feel personally attacked by any of this stuff. Like sometimes when we talk about issues that maybe are a little bit uncomfortable or we've had bad personal experiences with, even objectively in conversation, we might feel like I might feel I'm being personally attacked just by someone else bringing up that topic. So I want to go ahead and get that monkey off everyone's back. That's not what's happening tonight. We're going to dive into a lot of topics that a lot of us have dealt with, a lot of us have bad history with, a lot of us have had issues with. And so the solution is the thing we're focused on. Okay. So the first thing we've got to do is we have to be willing to communicate about a topic on money, right? Communicate meaning I'm gonna send communication out. Like I'm gonna open things up. Number two, we've got to be able to confront it. Okay. I like the definition of confronting as to face something without flinching. Right. So communicating about one thing is like point A, but point B, the second thing is confronting it, facing it without flinching. That means that I don't have this emotional reaction. I don't have to look away. I don't have to act like it doesn't apply to me. I can just look it in the eyes as a topic and fully see what's there. And then thirdly, we're going to come up with a solution on all of the topics we cover tonight. Okay, we're going to communicate about them. We're going to confront them. Then we're going to come up with solutions. Okay, now as we're going through this, second point is if you run into any words you don't understand that I'm talking about tonight, I want you to let me know in the comments. Okay. This will be evidenced by you getting bored, you zoning out, you becoming critical, skeptical, whatever it might be. That means that I said something you didn't understand. And there's nothing wrong with not understanding things. That's actually the first step to learning, is realizing you don't understand something. So drop like, hey, I didn't get what you meant by blah, blah, blah in the comments, and I'll answer it. Thirdly, if you have questions, drop them in the comments. I'll get to them. We're going to do things a little differently tonight because I want to keep it open. So if you guys have topics you would like me to cover off the cuff, drop those in the comments. I would love to cover those. And then fourth, let's have fun with this. These are ultimately topics about money. Okay, money is a communication line, no different than a text message, a piece of mail, a conversation. Like those are all ways that we communicate. And so money is one of those ways that we communicate. And if we can't have fun with communication, like what are we doing, right? Like who's ever been in a conversation where it was way too serious, way too rigid, okay, way too like uptight and stuffy? It's not a fun conversation to be a part of, right? And so if you've been in a conversation where it's light, playful, creative, like open, non-judgmental, all that stuff, like it makes it fun to communicate. And money should be something that is fun to communicate about, because when we do so, we become successful with it, right? When somebody can have fun with money and not have the bad memories and regrets and doubts and skepticism and negativity, and just enjoy like exchanging with people and earning and saving and spending and all this normal stuff, that's what it's about, okay? So I have my list here. These are the topics we're going to cover. We hit 4 or 5 of these last week, and I'm probably going to continue to add more to this because there's a lot of topics. And the one that I want to start with tonight, is combining finances. Okay, what do I mean by that? Combining finances means that if I am engaged or married or in a relationship, it means that I'm combining my finances with the person I'm in the relationship with. Okay, do I do that? Should I do that? Now, I want to share with you guys what I was taught. Okay, I grew up in church, so I was taught that you combine finances, and that's like the thing you're supposed to do, and that the husband is the head of the household and kind of makes the money decisions, right? Now, that was the concept. That was what I was taught. Where that didn't play out was that my parents got divorced. Right? So combining finances all of a sudden wasn't a thing. My mom thought my dad was bad with money. My dad thought my mom was bad with money. Neither of them trusted each other with finances. And so this idea that I was told of like, hey, you're supposed to combine finances, like imagine my confusion watching my mom and dad like butt heads all the time on money. And I'm hearing combined finances, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, that looks like a nightmare. Why would I want to do that? That looks like a terrible, terrible thing to put on myself and to put on another person, right? So the solution is, a lot of people are like, either combine finances, and it's like this weird, like, very permission based and rigid thing. I don't know if you've ever met a couple like that, or even been a couple like that, where it's very like, you don't talk about money. One person runs it all. You have to ask for permission for everything. Like that's a solution people have come up with. And then the second solution that I've seen is that people just completely separate their finances. He has his, she has hers, and we don't combine them, and it works, right? And so here's what I want to say on that. When you are combining finances, it's not like this thing where you just naturally combine finances and life's great. It's kind of like merging 2 businesses together. Okay, if I was going to merge 2 businesses together, I would have to look at, are they compatible financially? Right? Like if I have one business that financially operates one way and another business that operates financially a totally different way, and I combine them, the companies would both probably fail. Right? So this is a big thing. If I'm combining finances, I have to confront that. Like that, again, we're communicating about it. Now I have to confront, am I actually even on the same operating basis as my spouse or as my partner? And if I'm not, then I need to be aware of that. They need to be aware of that. We have to be okay with calling that what it is and realizing, I'm really good at saving and investing, and I'm not big on spending. You, on the other hand, are covered in debt. That's a different operating basis. You're very good at spending and maybe earning, but that's not the same model. And if we combine that and don't figure it out first, it's going to lead to a mess. So that's the first thing we've got to confront. And so part of that is like it's taboo because it's hard to tell one spouse that they're bad with money or they've made more money mistakes than the other spouse has. but it's reality. Like if I'm getting into a relationship with someone, I've been married now for going on 8 years. Okay, so when me and Lexi got married, she was actually better with money than I was. Ironically, right? I was broke. She had savings. And so when we started like talking money and getting on the same page, we had to both look at our different financial habits and behaviors. She was really good at saving money and I wasn't. And so because of that, I had to look at, okay, I need to step my saving game up. If we're going to combine our finances, I cannot be a leech, and I can't be wasting all the money that she's saving and not using that the way that she wants to use it. Now, I'm really good at earning. I've been better at earning than she is. And so she's same thing, confronted like, okay, I've got to figure out sales and communication, and I've got to bring something to the table with earning, right? Now, to relate this back to like a company, almost like on an organizing board where the company, you're going to have different roles and positions. So if I'm combining finances, the solution is I do need to have a family treasurer, meaning that that person runs finances. That is going to be the person that has the best financial statistics. Okay, that's the person that's got the most income, the most saved, the higher net worth, the least debt, the least mistakes, whatever stats you're tracking between you and your spouse, the person that's running the treasury for the family is the person that has the most financial stats. And it's the person that's the best at saying no, right? One thing I'm good at is saying no. Ironically, I've gotten very good at that because it's my profession on finances now. And so I had to really learn to build up and say no. Now I'm better at saying no than Lexi is. She'll even complain and be like, "You say no to everything," right? But if that's my role, I have to live that. That's my game, right? Now, if I elect, like say we elect Lexi to be the head of our financial treasury for my family, it means that that's her job. That's her role. I don't undermine her. Okay. I don't do stuff behind her back. I make sure she knows about stuff. I make sure that if that is her area that she's managing, I'm actually junior to her. Like she's up here, I'm down here because she's running the treasury for the household. Now, this doesn't mean guilt. It doesn't mean that she manipulates that. It doesn't mean that I have to ask her for permission for everything. It does mean that we plan on things and we communicate things and we review things. Okay, if I'm combining finances, these are the three biggest things I have to do. I actually have to plan ahead of time, meaning I have to sit down. If I'm running the finances for my household, I have to sit down with a prepared list of things we're going to go over. Me and Lexi do this every week. How much income are we earning in the next 7 days? That's a conversation we have every single week. How much income are we earning in the next 7 days? Okay. And then we review expense planning. What do we need to set aside for expenses in the next 7 days? Okay. And then after we've done that, we review this past 7 days. What did we earn in the last 7 days? What was the target? Did we hit that? What did we spend in the last 7 days? What was the set aside target? Did we exceed that or did we stay below it? Okay, and then we'll look at things like our assets and our reserves and our investments and review all of that on a weekly basis. But it's a thing that we're both interested in. Okay, one person is in charge of it, and that person is going to prepare the numbers and get everything ready, but both people are part of that conversation. Both people are tracking it. It's not like a boring 20-minute meeting where one spouse leads it and is excited and the other spouse zones out and is on Facebook the whole time. Okay, so that's part of it. Now, if I'm combining finances, like that's really what it comes down to. And this leads into my second topic. Okay, so my second topic that I want to cover is money fights. Okay, money fights. We've all been in money fights. Okay, and ironically, a lot of the stuff that I'm covering tonight relates to relationships. So if you're single and you don't have a girlfriend, a fiance, a boyfriend, a spouse, a partner, whatever it is, if you don't have that yet, I want to give you a viewpoint on this. Okay, back to the combining finances thing. Money is the number one topic that couples fight about. Number one, hands down, it's the number one cause of divorce. And so there's this thing of like money fights. People get in fights about money. I see it all the time. One spouse goes out to start the business. Usually I see this is classic. Husband starts the new business. Wife is fearful because wife wants to protect kids and family. Husband doesn't produce the way that he said he would. Wife resents husband. And now there's this rigidity in the relationship. I see that all the time. Or husband or wife earns more income than the other one, and the other one spends all the money, and the earner feels resentful because they work so hard and it seems like they're always paycheck to paycheck no matter how hard they try. Those are real dynamics, right? And when I got married, no one talked to me about that. No one sat me down and said, this is going to be part of marriage and part of having a relationship. So me and Lexi got in some money fights. Now, I want to realize that money fight is a communication. If we're fighting about money, at least we're talking about it. Okay, and the reason that I say that is when we would get in fights, we would have family members, friends that had the pious attitude, the high and mighty. Usually, it's the overly churchy people, like, oh, you get in money fights. That's not very correct. You're not supposed to do that, right? And so what I realized is that, hey, at least we're talking about money. Sure, it's not the most productive thing in the world, but at least we're freaking talking about our money. A lot of people don't. And what I'm getting at here is having a money fight is better than no communication about finances at all. If I am fighting with my partner about money, at least we're talking about it. Because a lot of people don't even have the level of confront to have a discussion, let alone fight about it. So when you see someone, I want to give you some encouragement. When you see someone fighting about money, or you get in a fight with your spouse about money, sure, it's not ideal. You're probably going to be upset, but at least you're doing something. At least you're talking. At least there is communication. And if you ever feel criticized by someone you know about having a fight with your spouse about money, I want you to realize that person is criticizing you because they know you're communicating about money. They know they should be, and they know that they aren't. And that's why they would criticize you, because you're doing something they know they should do and aren't doing. So don't even pay attention to them. Now, with money fights, here's what I want to have on this one as kind of a realization for all of us. Usually both people have good intentions, right? Even if it's a case where there's an earner and a spender, and the earner is just sick and tired of the spender blowing all the money, the spender is usually buying things that they think will help the earner and make the family happier, and like they're trying to do nice things. Sure, it's a drain, and yes, there's some correction on behavior and mindset that we need to work on with that person spending like that. However, they're not being malicious. They're like, they didn't sit down and be like, all right, how do I make my family insolvent? Right? Nobody thinks that. Nobody sits down and plans that. So they saw a couch. They thought, man, my husband or wife or kids or whoever would really like this couch. I really like this couch. I should buy it. They didn't think past that. I want you to realize that they didn't think past that. So all of the needly, like nitty gritty, like, oh, they just want this and they're so entitled, blah, blah. That's not at all what's going on in their mind. All they thought was, this is nice. I think we can afford it. I'm going to get it. That's as far as their mind went. So if I'm the earner and I'm pissed off in that situation, I need to realize all of the mental stories I'm probably telling myself about the other person's intentions probably aren't true. They didn't think any of those thoughts of like, I'm entitled and I'm going to buy this and I can waste and no, it's usually very good intentions. Now, on the other hand, like let's talk about the other one that I mentioned, where the spouse starts the business and leaves the wife preparing meals and taking care of the family and not earning income, right? If I'm the wife in that scenario, and I see this so many times, that's why I bring it up specifically, I'm holding down the household. That's a full-time job. That never ends. I want you to realize that viewpoint. Like if I'm taking care of kids and cleaning and cooking and all, like that's not a job that I clock out from at 5. So there's probably a little bit of like, hey, I work too hard for us to not be doing well, but it doesn't directly connect to the income. So I feel a lack of control. So if my husband in that situation quits his job that was paying the bills just fine, mind you, we weren't rich, but we were paying the bills to go do something where he doesn't earn the paycheck he said he would make, of course I'm going to be pissed. Okay. And it's not, and if I'm the husband, it's not even a situation of like, I'm lazy or I'm just trying to skate by without having to put in the work, or I'm trying to get time away from the family by saying I'm doing business. It's usually none of those things. It's usually, I don't actually know how to earn. There's something about my business that I don't know. Otherwise, I would earn the income. And the reason I can hit this one so well is I was that husband. When I first started my company, I quit my job. Lexi worked full time. She paid all of our household bills, and I freaking sucked it up for like 2 years. Didn't really earn a paycheck, didn't really produce, didn't really do any of the things or live up to any of the stuff that I thought I was going to as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. Okay. In that moment, there was nothing Lexi could tell me that would have been worse than what I was already telling myself. So for her to be like, hey, why aren't you bringing in paychecks and why aren't you earning income and you're lazy and we're broke and it's all your fault, you should go back to your job. Instead of all of that, because I'm already considering all that stuff, she should be looking at, okay, what doesn't he get? Okay, because if you go start a business, you should earn income. Like if you're really a business owner, it should not be a problem for earning income. That's the number one thing a business needs is income. Everyone knows that. So if I'm not doing that, where is the disconnect? And if I'm the wife in that picture, I'm going to start communicating about that. Hey, love you. Don't know if you noticed, our bank account is empty. We haven't had a paycheck in weeks from you. What's happening? Okay, and I want you to realize the husband is probably going to start blaming people. And I don't want this to just be the husband. The wife could be reversed. Maybe the husband is doing all the work at home. The wife went out to start the business. It doesn't matter, right? But the point is the person that's not earning is probably going to be in a mentality of blaming other people. Okay. And if I'm the person listening, I'm going to acknowledge all of that and say, great, I understand, but what's going on? Like beyond all of that, why aren't we winning at this business right now? And I'm going to get to the bottom of that. That's again, having a money fight should lead to a solution. If I have a fight with my spouse about money, I can either go up or I can go down. I can become more solution oriented and positive, or I can become more negative and more victim oriented. It's up to me on which one am I going to pick. Okay. And if I pick the solution oriented, then that fight actually was a win. Okay, we have to be really objective about this because it can become very emotional. But if I think about this as like, like working out or a boxing match or a sporting event, there's always going to be effort and counter effort, two opposing views, two opposing sides. It's not even about that. It's about what was the result. Did we come away with a better solution due to the money fight? And if we did, that was an excellent fight, right? And that's the mindset to have. So money fights are normal. It's a level of communication. Everybody does them. Those that don't are worse off than those that do. Okay. And B, I have to confront my responsibility in it. Where am I causing the money fight? And what is my spouse's point of view in the matter? And how can we come to an agreement? Because if we're fighting, it means we both care enough to be upset, which means we both care enough to come up with a solution. So let's do that. Okay. That's what I want to talk about on money fights. Now, the next one that I want to hit, let me just check and see if there's any comments. Again, if you guys are watching this, any comments you have, things that you would like me to cover, drop them in the comments. I would love to answer your questions. Let me just scroll through Instagram really quick and see if there's anything. Yeah, no big questions yet. Let me see if Facebook has any. I've got my list. I'm going to cover them. However, if you guys have some, I want to make sure we hit those too. So Eric Whitaker, one of my clients here, he has a really good point. He said he's married. He says when we fight, we always remind each other we are arguing over doing better, not necessarily a bad thing because it pushes you to do better. Yeah, fighting over doing better is a great thing. Like that's not something to frown at. That's not something to be condescending about. Okay, so the next topic that I'm going to cover is conflicting realities. Okay, what do I mean by that? That's interesting, right? Conflicting realities. So a conflicting reality means that I started with a fixed viewpoint on money, right? There's lots of fixed viewpoints. A fixed viewpoint means that I got a concept or a thought and I grabbed it and I'm holding on for dear life because I don't have stability if I lose this. That's called a fixed viewpoint. Retirement plans, a fixed viewpoint. I must put money in my 401k. And if anyone tells me I'm wrong, I'm going to lash out at them and be emotional because I don't know what else to do. Or owning a home, fixed viewpoint. I'm going to hang on to owning a home because I bought one and it was freaking $400,000. And if it's not a good idea, I made a mistake with $400,000 and that's a lot of money. So I can't let this go. That's called a fixed viewpoint. Okay. A conflicting reality is something that comes in and pops the fixed viewpoint's bubble. Pop. Right. So if this was my foundation, it's gone. I don't have a foundation anymore. That's why people have fixed viewpoints. That's why people are so against conflicting realities. So what would a conflicting reality be? Let me throw a couple at you, right? Who has ever heard a home is an asset? I have. Let me see some thumbs up, right? Let me see some stuff, some likes, some hearts, whatever. If you've heard home is an asset, I have heard that since I was a kid. Okay. Here's the deal though. An asset, I'm going to give you two things. An asset is something I own with value that would count towards my net worth. My net worth is the things that I own minus the things that I owe. So if I own something and I owe less than I own on it, it should show up on my net worth. Okay. The Securities Exchange Commission, aka the federal government, in the official calculation of a net worth specifically says a home is not included. The primary residence is not included. This is the government, guys. We're saying the government is telling us a home is not an asset. You cannot count it on your net worth according to the Securities Exchange Commission. It's not an asset. So that's thing A. Thing B, even if that wasn't true, because I'm not a big government guy. So usually when the government tells me something, I believe the opposite, right? I'll let your mind take that as far as you want to take it. But when the government tells me something, I'm usually not like, okay, good sir, let me take you at face value. I'm usually like, oh, I wonder if I just did the opposite of what they told me to do, if I would be okay, right? That's my mindset. So even if that wasn't true, and we just looked at, okay, mathematically is a home an asset? Let's look at this. If it's an asset, it should make me money. Okay. The inflation adjusted rate of return on a home is 0.10% per year over the last century. Okay. I'm going to repeat that. After inflation, on an annual basis, a home only appreciates in value at 0.10% per year over the last century. Now, appreciation means the value went up. It doesn't mean it's not counting yet interest. It's not counting taxes. Okay, it's not counting insurance. It's not counting closing costs. It's not counting realtor commissions. It's not counting HOA dues. It's not counting utilities. It's not counting repairs. It's not counting maintenance. It's not counting improvements. It's not counting time invested, home security, any of that stuff. So when I calculate all of those other numbers in, I lose money on a home every year. Okay, now this is not a conversation of should you own a home or should you not own a home. This is the fixed viewpoint of a home is an asset. I just showed you it's not. I can show you documentation and facts on every single one of the stats that I just gave you. You will not make money on a home. You will lose money on a home. I will lose money on a home. It is not an asset, right? So that's a conflicting reality. You guys would be amazed at how many people lose their crap when I tell them that. Not even like arguing, it's just emotional. They will personally lash out at me. Well, you're just saying that because blah, 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 and you don't know what you're talking about and yada, 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 because they cannot live with the idea that I just bought something for $400,000 that I thought was an asset and it turns out that it's not. That's a $400,000 mistake. That's the biggest mistake they've ever made in their life financially, right? So that's called a conflicting reality. Now, what I want to confront here, again, we're communicating about conflicting money realities, things that interrupt our fixed belief systems on money that cause us to be upset, confused, and go into denial. And then we start to justify our current reality, right? So what I want to confront here is that most of the fixed viewpoints that we have, we didn't come up with ourselves. Okay, let's trace this back, okay? Who wins the most on a home? Think about it. If I finance a house, most people do, they do an FHA loan and put 3% down, right? Who wins the most on the home? Let's say I'm out of the picture. Okay, let's emotionally remove ourselves. So it's not the homeowner. We've already taken them off. We're going to say other people. Could it be the realtor? Maybe. They only maybe make $5,000 to $10,000 on a house. Okay, so they win a little bit, but not as much as other people might. What about the loan originator? That guy only makes like $3,000 on the home also. So he kind of wins, but not really. What about the government? Property tax. Okay, I see some clients where they pay $9,000 per year in property tax and it will only go up for the rest of their lives. If they own the home for 30 years, that's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars that they have paid in property tax. So there's one. Like that's obviously one, right? What about banks? Right? Who's ever heard of tips? Okay, on a mortgage closing statement, anyone that's ever bought a home, at the bottom of that statement, it has something called tips. It's total interest paid, right? When you look at total interest paid, you could probably look at your mortgage statement now. The total interest you will pay the bank usually is equal to, if it doesn't already exceed, the purchase price of the house. Meaning you paid for the house twice, dude, to the bank. The bank made as much interest as the home cost you in the first place. That's who wins on a home. So why would they tell me a home is an asset? Why would they tell me a home is an asset? They're financially vested. That's why. Okay. What's another one? Who was taught save with a bank as a kid? Who here had a piggy bank? Who here opened their first bank account when they were 15 or 16? Right? I did all of those things, right? That's a fixed viewpoint. Okay. When you actually study what banks do with the deposits that we give them, it's sickening how much money they make off it. No wonder they're going to get us to put money in a bank. What about Wall Street 401k plans? Another fixed viewpoint. Okay. Buying a car on financing because the interest rate's really cheap, but we're going to give up our income for the next 5 to 7 years and not be able to save because of it. That's a fixed viewpoint. Okay. So conflicting realities, what we need to confront about them is almost 100% of the time, they were created by Wall Street, they were created by a bank, or they were created by the government. Almost 100% of the time. Like, I'm not even kidding on this. You can look at all of them. They will almost always trace back to one of those three parties, which means that that's not actually education. That's called propaganda. Okay, propaganda is when a group with vested interests changes, manipulates information, and repeatedly feeds it to us until we believe it as the truth. And then we just take it at face value because mom did it and dad did it. And before that, their mom and dad did it. Before that, their mom and dad did it. Before that, unless you do ancestry.com, you don't know who is above them. So you're not going to check anyways. Right? So the solution here on conflicting realities is, for every reality, there's going to be something called a dichotomy, the opposite of the reality. There's always going to be one thing and then the opposite thing. So I don't even have to, like, with that piece of data, I don't even have to know that there are conflicting realities specifically. I can just assume that because I believe this, the opposite of that belief also exists. Right? You can see that with everything. You can believe in a God or you can be atheist. Like, that's dichotomy. I can believe in being rich or I can believe in being poor. That's dichotomy. I can believe in capitalism. I can believe in communism. That's dichotomy. The opposite will always exist. Okay. And so I need to actually be aware of that ahead of time. Before I pick my fixed belief, I need to realize, all right, I'm about to believe this thing. The opposite of it exists. I wonder what those guys think. Let me check that out so I actually understand both viewpoints and I can make an educated decision. Own a home, don't own a home as an asset, a home as a liability. Put money with Wall Street, don't put money with Wall Street. Give money to the bank, don't give money to the bank. It's simple stuff. So that's the solution, is anytime I'm about to adapt a viewpoint or a belief system, I need to realize the opposite of it exists. And then I need to voluntarily go explore the opposite viewpoint to make sure I actually understand both sides. Okay. Again, that's called a dichotomy. You can look that up if you don't understand that word defining, but it basically just means the opposite. There's two different things. Okay. Now, the other thing that's true about dichotomy is each of them have something called a harmonic, meaning there are going to be similar truths to both of them. Okay, no matter what it is, there's always going to be some commonality, some harmonic where they both meet up. And so if you can understand that, then there really is never like a this or that. It's these guys believe this thing, these guys believe this thing, this is why, and here's the commonality between both of them. And now I can make an objective decision and actually select my own financial viewpoints. Okay, and those that don't do this, I've been there before. I was very financially uncertain and unstable because if I lost that viewpoint, I had nothing. So that's why I would get emotional, right? I used to think that the stock market was the greatest thing in the world for investing. I was a financial advisor. I sold stocks. I had to think that. Otherwise, what I was doing was a fraud, because if I was selling a product that wasn't good, I was being unethical and I couldn't admit if I was doing that. So I had to believe stocks were good. I was emotional about it. Okay, this was my fixed viewpoint. If you challenged me on stocks, I was going to tear you a new one with intellect. Like I was going to make you look stupid, like you didn't know what you're talking about, so that I could protect my fixed viewpoint. Okay. It might sound sophisticated, but it's still an emotional response based on the fact that I didn't actually understand investing at that point in time. Right. So that's the conflicting realities thing. Really quickly, guys, if you guys are in the comments, we're talking about taboo money topics. So if you would like to have me cover a topic tonight, drop it in the comments. It does need to be about money, a taboo money topic, meaning a topic people usually would not talk about. Drop those in the comments. I'm happy to answer them. I'm going to scroll through Instagram really quick and just see if they have any topics that I would like to cover. Love the engagement, guys. Thank you guys for jumping on tonight. All right, let me see about Facebook here. Chad says, I started buying used cars that I could just buy. Funny thing is, I thought it was going to be buying junkers, but I've actually come across some great buys. Chad, that's a good point. If you're buying a vehicle and you're buying it new, you better be leasing it. Okay. Because if you buy it, it goes down in value like 40, 50%, like within the first 2 to 4 years. Meaning that if I took 10 grand and bought a car, I just turned it into 5 grand. Okay. I've got a deal where if you want to turn 10 grand into 5 grand, just wire me some Bitcoin and we'll make it happen. Right? Like it, so that's a good point with buying cars. I typically will either lease them so that I'm only leasing the depreciation and I can write it off on my taxes, or I'll do a used vehicle on something called a Section 179 purchase, where I can write the entire purchase price off on my taxes. Okay, cars are always going to go down in value. So either way, I'm going to lose money. I'm looking at which one can I write off the most and lose the least with. So very good point. Let's see here. Edgar has a good one. So Edgar is one of my clients, better known as Evo. I really am sorry if you guys are on Zoom and the water sounds weird on the microphone. I didn't realize that till tonight, how strange that probably sounds, but we'll all fight through it together, and we'll make this thing happen anyways. So Edgar says that I don't see it on TV is maybe a scam. That's definitely a scam. Okay, I don't see it on TV. And what he means is like, you know, like when you get a new idea with finances or any concept and people are like, well, how come I've never seen it before? And usually where they would have seen it is TV or social media. Everything is paid for on TV. Like that's definitely a falsity. Like if you're watching TV, lobbyists, companies, corporations, banks, government, they paid for their ideas to be on that show. That's why it's there, right? So that's a outlet for, again, propaganda to spread to us. And so if we don't realize that and we take all of our advice from what we see on TV, if you want to know what that's going to end up looking like in the future, go watch the movie. It's called Idiocracy, and you'll get a full conceptual reality of what that would look like in the future if all of us just basically did what we saw on TV. That's what it would turn into. William says, people losing their jobs suggestion. That's a good one. So that is definitely a taboo topic. So again, let's communicate about that. People losing jobs. People lose jobs, right? That's part of life. It just happened probably a couple of months ago with COVID-19. People lost tons of jobs, and it happened like at a very high rate, very quickly. And it's one of those things where there's two types of people. There's the type of person that really doesn't care because they knew they were probably going to quit or get fired anyways. If you're watching this, you're probably not going to keep watching this because I just offended you. And then the second type of person is that person that would really be bothered by losing their job. That's most of us. Like we take pride in our work. We take pride in earning an income. We take pride in taking care of our families. So losing our job is a punch in the gut, right? It's almost like how could I face this reality? Now, with that being said, sometimes if we lose a job, it's because the company we worked for sucked. And then sometimes if we lose a job, it's because we sucked. There's only two options there. Either the company sucked or we sucked, right? The company sucked, you know, don't pick a company that sucks next time. Usually what that means is it's a large corporation. They don't look at their people as individuals and they look at everyone as just numbers on a balance sheet, and they're going to cut and chop off whoever they need to for the shareholders to be pleased and for the executives to get bonused. My opinion is that is like the second worst place you could work next to the government, right? That's not a good, look for, if I'm looking for a company that doesn't suck, I'm looking for a small to mid-sized business that is actually expanding and growing, and they care about their people, and they have good culture, and the individuals that work there are a team, and there's responsibility, and there's camaraderie. Like, that's what I want in a company. That's what I'm building with my company. So if it's a situation where I lost my job because the company sucks, okay, then I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, I'm not going to pick a sucky company anymore. That's a personal change that I'm going to make, where I don't pick companies that operate that way any longer. Now, if I picked a job and I lost the job because I sucked, I have to confront, I didn't produce more value than I created. Okay. Devin Cody must have got fired from a job because he sucked at it recently. Sorry, Devin. Better luck next time. So if I had that happen, I didn't create the value, and the company had to make a decision on, I am paying more than this person is producing. So I had to let them go. Okay. If I'm the person that cares about my work quality and cares about my income, that's hard to confront, but I have to. Otherwise, I'm going to blame the company, and that's the wrong why. I'm going to say they fired me, it was unfair, but really I didn't produce the level that I was supposed to. I didn't exceed expectations. I didn't add value at the scale that I should have. And the only way for me to get the next job is to actually go produce better than I did at the last one. I have to take 100% responsibility for that. So that's what I would say if someone just lost a job. It's a lot to confront. And again, if I lost a job and it's just because I was going for a welfare check or a social security check, or I was going to quit anyways, like, this really is not directed towards that person. That person needs to change their ethics first, and then go focus on production and work. But this is for the person that, again, it cares. They care. It matters if they have employment or not. Let's see what other questions we have here. Anna Paula says, can you spell the name of the movie? It's called Idiocracy. Just spell idio and then Cracy, Cracy, I think. And that's, if you look that up, you'll find it. It's got Owen Wilson's brother in it. Super good movie. Good meaning it's funny, not meaning it's like quality, because you'll probably watch that and be like, this is like Napoleon Dynamite on steroids. Okay, let's see what else we have here. So we have a question here. Is it better to rent or not necessarily, or just buy a house in cash? That's a good question. So is it better to rent? This is back to my point about, is home ownership an asset? So I didn't say, notice I didn't say do or don't own a home. Okay. I said it's not an asset. So if I'm looking at it, ultimately home ownership is an expense. It's a housing expense. As a housing expense, I have to actually make the numerical comparison on, if I'm renting, my expenses are going to be security deposit, rent, utilities, and probably renter insurance. Okay, those are the things I'm going to pay for. So I need to add them up per month. If I'm owning a home, I'm going to pay principal, interest, taxes, insurance, closing costs, realtor commissions, all of the list. Like, there's a giant list of like 8 things. I need to actually add all of those up too, divide them out over the month, subtract out any potential appreciation, and then find out which one actually costs less. And it really depends on the city. I live in Alaska. Alaska is on the cusp of renting and owning almost being a break even. You could kind of get away with either one. I'm in LA right now visiting. LA is a city right now where it's cheaper to rent, right? If you don't have $1 million, you're going to live in a slum, and nobody has that money for a house usually. So it's usually renting is cheaper. So it really isn't a one answer or the other. Vanessa says, do you have Bitcoin? Vanessa, you should know better than to ask that. Of course, I don't have Bitcoin. And when you lease, what do you do? What do you do with the deposit? On a vehicle, I think she's asking about, sometimes you'll make a deposit, sometimes you won't. And you just give it to the dealership or not. I think that's what you're asking. Clarify if there was something different. Great questions. Chad says, Jerry, who is the treasurer in your household? So Lexi is the treasurer in our household. So she runs the finances. And so she's going to be in charge of tracking things and reporting things and like running our accounts and all that. My job is income, right? So I am producing income. She's managing the expenses, the assets, the record keeping, all of that stuff. Eric Whitaker says, should you and your significant other focus your attention on similar income streams, or is that not necessary? Elena Cardone, Building an Empire type of concept. So I haven't read that book, so I don't get the reference totally on that. But I've experienced in my own marriage with me and Lexi both being in business together. If that's done correctly, that's a freaking powerhouse. Like we have like the best partnership, probably better than we could ever hire out or train, simply because we're married, and that's like a whole nother level of like commitment and understanding and communication. It really is awesome. So I recommend that whenever possible. And if not, like I've seen it where in marriages, this spouse does this thing and this spouse does that thing, and they're totally different. And they're totally fine as well. Like they still both win. And I think in both of those, again, we talked about dichotomies and harmonics, the opposites. They might be doing opposite things, but the similarity in both of them to make it succeed is understanding and acknowledgement. So whether I'm in business with my spouse working together, I need to have a viewpoint of understanding. And I also need to be good at acknowledging the work she does, right? And vice versa. If she doesn't do anything with my business and she's a stay-at-home mom, or she does real estate, to be a level of understanding and a level of acknowledgement on her creation as a professional. And I think that that's big. Josue says you guys are a total dream team. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Always fully understand the true cost of things before purchasing. That's also very true. Great comments here tonight. Okay, so Vanessa, back to Vanessa's question about leasing. Do you think it's worth the thousands of dollars of deposit to lease? I think we're talking about cars. If we are, usually I don't put a deposit down when I lease a vehicle. I usually will tell them, hey, I'm putting no money down and we're going to lease it. If we're talking apartments, that's a different lease. Usually I'll have to put money down. And if I do a good job, I'll keep it. Okay, yes, car. So yeah. So if you're leasing, if you do have to put a deposit down, I would just divide that by the amount of months on the lease. And if I'm not going to get the money back, I'm going to just count that as part of my payment, right? And I'm still going to write that off. And if I can get it back, then I'm not going to count it as part of my payment. I'm just going to plan on getting that money back. Usually leases allow for some wear and tear. So like if I lease it, I usually can get away with some dings and scratches and maybe even a cracked windshield here and there. But I would just count it as part of like, leasing or renting the car. And on a lease, it's all about the payment. I'm going for the lowest possible payment I can get, which means that I'm not going to lease a Lambo. Okay. Like when I leased my first vehicle, I leased a Kia. Okay. The reason why I leased a Kia is I could get a $200 per month car payment, and a car doesn't produce anything for me. Right. So I leased it. Now with my X6 and my X7 that I'll get at the end of this year, I did a Section 179 purchase. Again, it's a business purchase. I financed it through my life insurance. I made the payments back to myself. Then I'm actually making money on owning the vehicle because I'm financing it with my own bank, if you will. So that's a big major difference there. All right, we have a couple of minutes left here. I want to hit a couple more topics here. So we hit combining finance. We talked about money fights. We talked about conflicting realities. Let's talk about bad spouse decisions. Since we're on the topic of money, let's talk about spouses that have bad money decisions. Meaning we married someone and that someone made some mistakes with money, and it's something that maybe comes up as a ridge in our relationship. Let's talk about that. Okay. Now, here's where this starts. Again, communication. When people become in a position in a relationship where they're going to commit to each other long-term, whether that means marriage or whatever it might be, part of that needs to be confronting money. Okay, if I'm considering marrying someone or getting engaged to them or moving in with them or combining my finances with them, money should be one of the first conversations we have. Okay, this may seem blunt, but we're going to freaking pull out some financial statements. Like, I want to see your budget. I want to see your pay stub. I want to see your taxes. I want to see your balance sheet. Okay. If I don't see those things, we don't do the deal. Like, we're not going to, if you can't confront and show me your finances, we're not getting married. We're not going to get engaged. We're not going to live together. We're not going to combine finances. And it's not even a case where if it's bad, I'm not going to go with that person. It's a case where I want to see if that person can actually be honest with me about their money. Okay, it's not like if they showed me a bad one, it wouldn't be a deal breaker. It would be, can you show me at all? Okay, are you actually honest and transparent enough to say, hey, here's everything? Because if you can't, that's what it's going to be like in the relationship. You're going to hide stuff. You're going to be ashamed to tell me stuff. You're going to do things and not tell me and go behind my back, and it's going to create weirdness in the relationship. So with bad financial decisions, we've both done them. So if I'm the spouse that's hypercritical of my partner and their decisions, that is an indicator that I've made worse ones. Otherwise, I wouldn't be so focused on it. I wouldn't be so fixated on it. Okay. So if I'm critical of them, it means I've made worse ones, and worse yet, I haven't told them about my worst ones. Otherwise, it would not be a big deal. We'd be like, great, we both saw each other naked financially. Let's, like, it's not a thing anymore. Right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that's something that happened as a track record. They didn't just suddenly start making financial decisions. Okay, it relates to, like, think about when the stock market crashed a couple months back. That didn't just happen. Like, we were leading up to that for months. That was a thing that if I was watching repo notes on the Fed, watching them bail the market out since last October. Now, it crashed in February. Most people think it was this freak accident that crashed in February. No. It happened in October, before October, because the Fed started responding. So relating this back to the spouse thing, if they have bad money behaviors, it's going to go all the way back. All the way back. I would be able to see a track record of that. So I want to see that. I want to actually have that conversation. Okay. Now, secondarily, I'm going to make them fix it. Okay. And I'm not going to make them fix it. I'm actually going to help them fix it. Right. So if we're going to get married, if we're going to move in together, if we're going to get engaged, and you have, 6 figures of credit card debt and I have no debt, obviously we have some differences. I need to see that you fix that before we get married, because I've worked hard on my finances. I'm not going to become a liability because of yours. So let's work on this. Let's set a deadline and a target date. Let me see you clean it up, because marriage is hard. So I need to see that you can do the work before the marriage starts, before we move in together, before we merge our finances. I want to see that you actually will clean yours up. Okay. So that's what I would say on bad decisions. Now, the solution to that, I know I sound very blunt in this, but this would actually be a very delicate conversation. Okay. It's going to be, I show them my finances, they show me theirs. We both confront what's there. We identify what's causing both situations. If I'm in a good position, we're going to identify what's causing that. What am I doing that's right? We're going to validate that. We're going to keep doing it. If I see your finances and they're not good, we're going to look at, okay, what's causing that? What instances made this happen? Okay, we're going to identify them, and then we're going to create a plan together for them to stop. Okay, that's really how I would handle that. It's very high communication. It's very open. And here's the thing about money, guys. Like, and I want to wrap up on this before we answer some more questions. Money is not the end of the world. Okay, if you've watched any of my stuff on money, it's an idea backed by confidence used for exchange. That means you literally can't lose that money. You can go get more, you can create more, you can sell more, you can trade for more, you can invest for more. Like, there's so much of it. So like this like idea of like, man, I made a bad decision, I can't tell anybody because I screwed up so bad. Like, realize, like, you can go fix it, and you can go get a better one, and you can go improve it. Like, it's endless. So I should be fine with sharing that. If I'm the spouse that's being maybe having this information shared with me, I don't need to be freaking out and be judgmental about it either. Like, okay, great, you made a bad decision. We're probably not going to trust you with that stuff for a while till we get that fixed. But let's go move on. Like, let's not keep doing it, and let's go move on, because there's more money and more opportunity. Okay. So that's really how I would handle that. And again, like, it's an idea. Money is simply an idea. It's backed by nothing. It's not backed by gold. It's not backed by Bitcoin. It's not backed by anything. It's backed on the confidence that you think you can spend it, and that's why you'll accept it when I give it to you, and vice versa. And we're exchanging. That's all it is. So I can do that endless, over and over and over and over and over, and it's never going to run out. And if I mess up, I can just try again next time. Okay. And that doesn't mean, like, don't be responsible, but I'm saying that's the lightness of it. It's not a heavy subject. It's an idea. Ideas are light. Ideas are high level stuff. It's energy and flows and all of this great stuff that is basically, like, never going to run out, is what I'm trying to say. So guys, we're going to wrap up here in a couple of minutes. Let me see what other questions we have on Facebook, on Zoom, or on Instagram. Okay, I don't see anything else on Facebook. Instagram. What have we got rolling on Instagram today? Fisher15 said I made $8 today. Is that a lot? Fisher15, it depends on how much you made yesterday. If you made less than 8, then yeah, that's a lot. If you made more than 8, that's not a lot. Okay, let's see what we have on Zoom. If we don't have any more questions, we'll wrap up here. Okay, so the house thing, we answered that already. We answered Vanessa's question. I think that might be it, guys. Let me just see here. So you made $1 yesterday. So $8 would be a lot in relation to the 1. Good job on that. But tomorrow, go make more than 8 and keep doing that, and that'll really build up. All right, here's Facebook. I think there might be a couple more things here for questions. Chad Hanna says, can you supply that formula in a PDF? Chad, I think you might mean the housing one. I do have an Excel spreadsheet. If you send me an email, I can send that to you. Jonathan says, learn some new stuff. Thank you. You're totally welcome, Jonathan. Josue says, can you talk about those who place themselves on survival mode on purpose in order to not be comfortable? Okay, last one, just because my boy Josue said that question. So he's asking me to talk about people that put themselves in a position of survival mode in order to not be comfortable. So like, you know, I kind of equate it to like running with ankle weights on. Instead of just running, I'm going to make it more difficult in order to get out of my comfort level. I do that a lot, right? I do that a lot. What that is that's called pan-determinism, right? Pan-determinism means I'm playing chess and I'm working both sides of the board, right? Life is cause and effect. I'm going to cause stuff and affect life. Life is going to cause stuff and affect me. I become in control when I start playing both sides. And what he's talking about with survival mode is he's saying, I'm going to do something that's probably already pro survival, like working out or saving or investing, whatever it might be. It's already pro survival. I'm going to add a level of difficulty to it on purpose. And by adding that, I'm actually taking control of what life was probably going to do anyways, and I'm causing it for myself. So now I'm in control of even the hard stuff, right? That's like, get to that level. Whatever you can do, get to that level, whether that's financially, like saving 40%, that's what that is. We talked about, Josue and I talked about saving 40% today on his blueprint call. That is pan-determinism, right? The IRS is going to take 40% off the top if I don't, so I better take it first. Now I'm struggling, quote unquote, to try and spend and live with what's left. But really, I just caused an effect that's good for me. And I just strengthened my own self-determinism by playing both sides of the board. So that's kind of what that is. I think that's all the questions. I do need to wrap up. I have a meeting here in a little bit with somebody, and so I'm going to wrap up and get to that. But guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you're watching this for the first time, we do these every single Friday. Every single Friday, they're free. We don't charge for them. And the reason is because some of you guys watched this tonight and you actually got help. That's what this is about, trying to give help, giving people help with their finances. If you watched this and you're like, that was great, I felt helped, I'd like to do more, reach out to me, send my team a message, send me a message. We actually help people one-on-one with their finances. So we would love to hop on a call with you, help you build your own blueprint, and really help you get a plan so you can implement all the stuff we talked about tonight. If you've been watching this for a while, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you check out, if you want to kind of go to the next level on this, go to membership.jerryfetta.com. Again, membership.jerryfetta.com. And you can actually get a free trial of my online program. It's called Wealth Dynamics University. You get 2 weeks free. It's got more content like this, but at a much higher level. That's my gift to you. Thank you all again. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you next week. All right. Peace out, Facebook. I'll talk to you guys later.